Hi everyone, Mizzo here with my cat Apollo, and we're going to talk specifically about the Toulmin model. Hopefully you have read and watched the video that discusses Aristotle's modes of persuasion, which are obviously ethos, pathos, and logos. I talked in that video about Aristotle's syllogisms and enthymemes, and so the logical deductive reasoning that he uses under logos. I wanted to talk a little bit more about another logical structure, and that's called the Toulmin model. And it was made by a man named Toulmin, and it involves three main pieces, and then three extra pieces that you can also have. I have also attached a sheet that lays all of this out, so you may want to pause this, click on that, and then open that up so you can follow along. Apollo is now digging into these boxes, which is the noise you're hearing. The boxes into the other room in case the noise was distracting. Okay, so the Toulmin model revolves around claims. And a claim is an assertion. It's a statement. And there are varying degrees of how much that statement is based in fact and how much that statement is biased or based in opinion. So, my scarves are pretty. These gloves are blue. This trophy is large. My cat is wonderful. These glasses help me see. My hair kind of looks like Justin Bieber. Those are all statements. They're all claims. All of those are claims. So everything from my shoes are size 10 to God hates fags. All like, do you see the range? All of those are claims. A claim is just an assertion. What becomes very important in this model, as you'll see, is the concept of clear claims or clarifying your claims. So one claim is Apollo is the best cat. That's a claim. Apollo is the best cat. A clearer claim might be Apollo is the best Maine Coon cat. Okay? Now, maybe you have a Maine Coon and you want to argue with me. Sure, Maine Coon is better, so maybe I'll clarify my claim even more. Apollo is the best Maine Coon cat in this apartment. I have two cats, but I only have one Maine Coon cat, so that could be easily supported that Apollo is the best Maine Coon cat in this apartment. He is, in fact, the only Maine Coon cat in this apartment. So do you see how as I work to change my claim that it gets more and more specific? I have a former colleague who teaches this, who loves teaching the Toulmin model, and he is all about clear claims. Clear claims, clear claims. And you'll start to notice this, where people will say something and they say about what they mean, and then if you push them, they have to clarify it, right? They have to clarify it, right? And so getting a clear claim will help your argument. Write that down. Put that on a stick-it. Memorize that. That's really important. A clear claim will help your argument. Okay, so now you've got your claim. Now you need your supporting material, or it's often called evidence. This is where I think people start to think sources, and then if you think sources, it's like, oh, I have to find a source. Sources are just smart things that support you. Okay, so supporting material, start to open up the idea of supporting material. Whatever backs up your claim, that's what supporting material is. So if my claim is Apollo is the best Maine Coon cat in this apartment, my supporting evidence might be that he snuggles and he keeps me company. I mean, that's that, right? Like, that's not fancy supporting evidence. If I were to argue that Apollo is the largest cat in this apartment, so that's a claim, Apollo is the largest cat in this apartment, my supporting material would be his weight, right? So your evidence is what directly supports the claim, okay? So let's say my claim is that Lady Gaga revolutionized the music industry. My evidence might be something specific about her tours. My evidence might be her number of albums sold. My evidence might be the fact that she is. So, do you see how all of that could be evidence? My evidence also might be the fact that she was the first person to have a top hit song using the words gay, I believe it's transsexual. I was born this way. Gay, straight, or bi, lesbian, transgender life, right? So transgender. So she's the first person to have a top hit song with the word transgender in it. That might be evidence enough to make the claim that she revolutionized the music industry. Now, notice how my claim isn't super clear. I might instead want to say Lady Gaga revolutionized lyrics in the music industry. Do you see how that's more clear for the specific evidence that I have and the specific argument that I'm making? So one thing that we're already taking away that the Toulmin model is helping us is specifics matter in persuasive argumentation. Okay? So the third part is the warrant. Now, I think the warrant is a little confusing. So I'm going to try really hard to explain it. The warrant is what connects your evidence to your claim. So the warrant is the link. The reason why the warrant is confusing is that a lot of times the warrant is inherent in the evidence. So if my claim is that Lady Gaga revolutionized lyrics in the music industry, and my evidence is, or my supporting material evidence is that she was the first person to use this specific word in a top hit song, my warrant would be this use of language created newness in the music industry, thus changing it, which is the definition of revolutionary. So the warrant is what connects your evidence to your claim. Now, maybe some of you are thinking, depending on the claim and the warrant and the evidence, I may not need very much of a warrant or a warrant at all, because maybe it's really obvious how those two connect. But sometimes you need a strong warrant. Here's an example. My claim is that if you're going to buy a new car, if you live in Fargo-Moorhead and you're going to buy a new car, you should buy a red car. That's my claim. You should, if you're going to buy a new car here, you should buy a red car. And my evidence is that red cars in this specific geographic area have the lowest accident rate. That's my evidence. That's true, by the way. They have the lowest accident rate. Now, some of you are going, what? Red cars usually have higher accident rates. Why? That doesn't make any sense. Why, and what's the context? Why should that make me buy a red car? The warrant, can you guess what the warrant is? Any guesses? The warrant is that because it snows here a majority of the year, red cars are most easily seen in the snow and therefore they have less accidents. The warrant is the snow. And I think it's really great that it's snowing outside right now. Can you see it? That's the warrant. So my claim is if you live in this area, you don't want to buy a white car, you want to buy a red car. And my evidence is that they have less accidents. And my link, my warrant, is because of the snow, right? So the snow is the warrant there. So you see how depending on your claim and evidence, you may need a strong warrant. Or it may be more inherent in your claim. So the other three parts of the Toulmin model that you may or may not need to use in your argument structure are evidence credibility, qualifiers, and rebuttals. Okay? Evidence credibility is exactly what it sounds. It's me telling you why the evidence I have matters, right? So if it's because of a source or a study, or it's telling you more information about the evidence, Um, and it's telling you more information about the evidence and how that's credible, right? So why you should listen to that evidence or believe it, right? So if I were to make the claim that gender is fluid, I'm going to make the claim that gender is fluid and gender is performed, and my evidence for that is Judith Butler's 1988 essay about performativity and gender. Maybe you're going, oh yeah, totally, I totally get it. But maybe you're going, who the heck is Judith Butler? I might need to tell you that Judith Butler is one of the most renowned gender scholars and that she's been writing and actively publishing in the field of gender since the late 70s, early 80s. And so, right, like giving you more context about the evidence might help my argument because that will support it. So evidence credibility is the first one. Qualifiers are the second one. And I have so when I teach this in class, we make up claims and then we walk through all the pieces. So we make up claims, we come up with the supporting evidence, we do the warrant, and then we try to find all three of these if we needed them in our argument. So one time in class, the claim was women should be allowed to play football at every level. Women should be allowed to play football at every level. So high school, middle school, professional, etc. And I tried to be one step ahead because I'm the teacher. So I was trying to think like, okay, what's the evidence credibility? What's the qualifier? What's the rebuttal here? And I couldn't think of a qualifier. And I was like, oh, I hope there's a good one. So I said, well, hopefully we'll find one. And I said to the class, okay, what's a good qualifier here? What would qualify this argument? Then there was a pause. And then a boy raised his hand and said, well, wouldn't a qualifier be, pregnant women at some level in their term shouldn't be allowed to play football? And there was like this pause and we all kind of giggled, right? So a qualifier is basically where you're saying, this is my claim, this is my argument, but here's an exception. So I think all women should be allowed to play football except pregnant women in their second trimester or later, right? And then I might have evidence there, right? Studies have shown that might be harmful to the baby, blah, 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 blah. So except for this is my qualifier. All women should be allowed to play football. Another good one is if my claim is all birds can fly except penguins and ostriches. I think there's a couple more in that qualifier, but I'm saying all birds can fly. I support that all birds can fly except these. I'm going to qualify my argument and say these birds can't fly. So that's a qualifier. Qualifier is where you're modifying your own argument to say this is the exception. This is where the argument doesn't hold. And finally, a rebuttal. A rebuttal is when you work into your argument what you think the opposition is going to say to you. Excuse me. So I'll say that again. Where you work into your argument what you think the opposition is going to say to you. So you see this a lot in some of the main social arguments. I think abortion is reproductive rights. I think reproductive rights is the most accurate, or not most accurate. I think one of the most interesting examples. So you'll often see in reproductive right discussions. So I'm gonna pick one. So this is not a discussion about reproductive rights or abortion. It's about the argumentation there. You'll often hear individuals who are pro-choice say, I am for, let me rephrase. This is a better one. You'll often hear individuals say, that I am pro-life. So you hear pro-life individuals say, I'm pro-life, and that, women should absolutely keep the fetus, except, do you know what I'm about to say? Except in cases of rape and incest. So that's a qualifier. And then they'll say, the reason that those cases uh, uh, is because of this and that, and then so they'll add in what they think someone's going to come back. So on the other side, pro-choice will often say women should be allowed to make choices for their body. And if it comes back and it says, but you're killing a life, right? Like you're killing a life. Don't you value life? The inherent rebuttal is, yes, I value life. I value the life of the woman. So do you see how inherent in many of those arguments are the rebuttals, right? That I'm anticipating what you're going to say back to me, and I'm adding into my argument a response to that. I'm trying to think of another good one, right? Oh, drinking age. Drinking age is a good one, right? So if I'm arguing that we should lower the drinking age to 18, and people will come back and say, but people aren't responsible at 18. They won't be able to handle it at 18. My rebuttal that I can work in is, we should change the drinking age to 18. And if you don't think 18-year-olds are responsible enough, then why do we send our 18-year-olds to war? Why do we allow our 18-year-olds to drive and sign leases and move out of the house and pay college tuition and sign big loans? 18-year-olds are responsible enough to do all of these things. They should be responsible enough to drink. So do you see how I'm working in what I assume you're going to say into my argument as rebuttal? So the Toulmin model are those main three pieces, right? Claim, evidence, warrant, and then whatever of the other three sort of optional pieces you need to make the strong argument. So you do this all the time. Remember, this is similar to syllogisms. You often make claims. You often use evidence. Now you know how you're doing it and the model for how to do it even better.